Hi, this is Sam Gunn with Siemens PM Software. Today in NX Quick Tip, we'll show you how some of the methods that we can use to create a realistic image, such as this one of our reciprocating saw of a consumer product. What you see here is a particular saw that has a nice looking blade at the front end. This is a very popular blade. It's made by Bosch. What we want to do is simulate something like that so it has a more realistic look that you would typically saw on a consumer product. So now once we know what kind of color and what kind of a logo we want to put on, which next is, we want to go ahead and go on the internet, just do a quick research and see if we can grab one of those logos from this Bosch company, and so it has that real look and feel on the saw blade. So we see that the saw blade's got the logo, it's got where it's made, and then what kind of model this particular saw blade is. So we're okay with that particular color, which is a kind of a dark blue color. Now what we want to do is in our Advanced Studio, we want to go ahead and apply that image to our geometry. We're going to use a decal method. So we want to go ahead and rename this. It's called a Bosch. And then we want to go ahead and use a true size because we don't want to have image to other than reflecting the true shape. So now once we navigate to the location of that decal, and then we want to go ahead and just select a couple of faces where this particular decal will locate. And then we want to define a center location. Go ahead and select a center location of a particular of the saw blade, those faces that we highlighted earlier. Now next thing we want to do is just define a couple of vectors. We want to have an up vector defined, and then we want to have a normal vector defined. What that does, will give us a position and orientation of that decal in relationship to this particular saw blade. Next thing what we do is we notice that the saw blade is already, the decal is already displayed on the saw blade. We see that's a very small looking. So what we want to do is go ahead and change the scale of that. We want to go ahead and increase that maybe by a factor of 10. We see that a little bit bigger, and then once again for another factor of 2, and now we see that the image begin to enlarge on those faces. We want to go ahead and finalize it to a size that we think probably the best fit, because we don't want the tail end of this saw blade to where those mounting holes are. We don't want that display to go that far. The next thing we want to do is take a look at this, what we call the transparent color. What we see is that NX give us a feedback that the majority of this background color is this particular blue. So which we will use that blue to grab onto and select rest of the faces to match up to this particular color. So after we know that what some of the settings of those colors are, we want to go ahead and then continue on. And when we're done, so that is done. Now we notice that the decal is not displayed quite correctly, just because the graphic display, the graphic settings. So it's okay, because later on we will use the Ray Trace Studio display to properly display this particular geometry. Now what we want to do is just go grab onto any other color from a color palette. We want to copy that, bring it in here. Then we want to go ahead and rename that to a particular color. So we want to go ahead and edit that, just go call it blue. So make sure that is something that we want. We might want to change, instead of car paint, kind of a shiny color, we want that to be a metal color. Next thing what we want to do, this is a crucial, like we did earlier, we want to match every one of these 6 entries to the colors that we saw earlier. So then the colors will balance, will match up to this particular logo. All right, once that is done, we want to go ahead and apply that to some of these geometries. And then go ahead and select a couple of faces that is part of that. So we want to change our select intent and then just grab onto some of these faces. And once that is done, we want to go ahead and apply that. We notice that some of these other colors did not change. Perhaps one of the aluminum material was still getting in the way. We want to go back and just reselect rest of the faces. So now that's done. It's getting closer, but still we see that little bit of mismatch is taking place, but we're okay with that, having that. So because later on we'll use a ray trace to properly show that. Okay, so now that is done, we'll want to maybe add a little more light to it. Having more light will bring a little more brightness to this particular geometry, like you notice. That will also help remove some of those issues that we saw earlier where the color mismatch might have taken place. Okay, Now that's done, we want to go ahead and activate our Ray Trace Studio. You notice that right off the bat we get a very quick display of this particular Ray Trace Studio. Depending on the geometry, the complexity of geometry, and the complexity of assembly, sometimes some of these images could take a little bit longer. However, I kind of expedite this particular process, if you will, and then now what we want to do is just go into global illumination, maybe increase the light intensity of this so it becomes a little brighter, and then the color will look much more like the realistic that we will hope for. So next thing we'll want to do is just go ahead and dismiss that, enlarge the Ray Trace Studio display, and then you will see that the look becomes a little more realistic, like the design that we have intended to. This concludes our demonstration. Thank you.